if I had a wish list of the top 2 things that I wish the knife industry would normalize, number 1 would be good heat treats, and number 2 would be milled titanium pocket clips. How's it going, everybody? I'm Rollshambo, the connoisseur and collector of all things sharp and shiny. And if you agree with my first statement, make sure you show the like button some love. And while you're down there, if you didn't agree with it, let me know what the top 2 things you wish the knife community would normalize. So today we're talking about the WE Roxi 3, designed by Todd Knife and Tool, manufactured by WE Knife Company, and sent my way by the Apex Pass Round Group via Blades and EDC channel. Shout out to them for making this possible, because as you may know if you've watched my channel before, I'm a big Todd Knife and Tool fan. It doesn't mean that I automatically like everything that they come out with, but I am starting to wonder, can they miss? I intend to find out. Guys, let's dive in deep and check out the WE Roxi 3. Bang, and we're back talking about the WE Roxi 3, designed by Todd Knife and Tool and of course manufactured by WE Knife Company. I'm, as you may know, a huge fan of Todd Knife and Tool. I love their design aesthetic, and I just love the production quality of the manufacturers that they design for. You may have seen my other reviews on things like the Bestech Nixie and the Bestech Exploit, which are other knives designed by them. And I like those knives. I like them a lot, in fact. So we're going to talk about the specs. I'll do some comparisons, and then you'll get my thoughts. Here we go. The WE Roxi 3 has an overall length of 7.2 inches. It has a blade length about 3 1/4. This one comes in full titanium. So you get titanium handle scales, titanium backspacer, titanium pocket clip, this beautiful brass accented hardware. You get a nice steel lock bar insert, and of course a single-sided captive pivot. Unlike with the Bestech iterations, WE wants their logo on that pivot, and so we're relegated to getting the Todd Knife and Tool logo on the blade instead of on the pivot. However, I'm okay with that because unlike Bestech, we only get the Todd Knife and Tool logo on the blade, and there is no other company billboarding. So yeah, a bit of a trade-off between 2 great manufacturers from China. I digress. For the blade steel, we're looking at S35VN, which is not unlike other knives that Todd Knife and Tool has designed. I'm not sure if that's just the blade steel they prefer or if that's just what's easiest to manufacture, but I happen to know that WE Knife Company is capable of manufacturing 20 CV and M390 just fine, so it makes me wonder, you know, in the same price point, we do get knives like this with M390 and 20 CV steel. Why was this not made with those steels? S35VN is definitely a great steel, but I do have to wonder. Let's do some quick comparisons. Since we mentioned those other knives, I'll go ahead and bring them out. This is up against the Bestech Nixie and up against, there we go, the Bestech Exploit. So as you can see, the design aesthetic is very, very similar. And you'll probably notice it better when I switch these over to their handle scale sides, or excuse me, the clip sides. They maintain the same pocket clip. They all have the speed holes. They all have the single-sided captive pivots. They all have steel lock bar inserts, and they all have roughly the same hardware. The hardware is a little bit different on this guy. As you can see, it's got a little bit of a raised bump on the pivot with that pivot collar. I don't necessarily mind it, but they could have flattened that out as we see on these Bestech iterations for Todd Knife and Tool, because I think that these being flat actually does help with the ergonomics. Let's talk about those for a second. Yes, there are edges, but yes, they are actually rounded out. So you have kind of this raised platform right here, but those edges have been really nicely knocked down, and so you don't necessarily feel them. The pocket clip not only looks cool, but does a great job of disappearing in the hand. So overall, I'm very, very satisfied with that. It is running on bearings, of course, and while it does not have a sharpening choil, it does have a finger groove. I'm trying to get away from calling it a finger choil because it's not really a finger choil. It is a spot to put your finger so that you can choke up on it. Considering that the handle length itself is only about 4 inches, you know what? That's going to come in handy for fellas that have larger sized hands. You get some good jimping up here at the top. It starts out nice and close together and then goes to more of a sawtooth the farther out you get. And that's because this is in fact a front flipper. Now, it's not the only way you can deploy this, so people that don't like front flippers, please don't come at me with your pitchforks. Some people love front flippers, some people do not. My favorite way to deploy this is actually with the fuller or the deployment hole. The detent is nice and crisp, but not too heavy. Now, keep in mind, this was part of the Apex pass round group, so plenty of people have had their chance to put their paws on it, meaning that it's been fidgeted with a lot, and so this one is properly broken in after being in the hands of several other men. That being said, you can do the normal tricks with it. You can go ahead and pop it open with your thumb. You can roll it out with your index finger. It works very well in both of those. I do, however, prefer going with the deployment hole or deploying it with the fuller. I think that those are great options, and I also wish that we would just have more knives in general that have that fuller deployment. It's nice, it's smooth, and if you don't like front flippers, it's a better option. So here's my thoughts. It shares a lot of the same design cues as the Nixie and as the Exploit and as other Todd Knife and Tool knives. So why should you buy this instead of, say, I don't know, this? In my opinion, it comes down to one important thing, and that is blade shape. If you don't like the Exploit's blade shape or the Nixie's blade shape, maybe you want more of a sheep's foot, this is going to do it for you. We and Bestech both do an exceptional job at manufacturing something with good fit and finish. So you're not really going to give up anything if you go with one knife over the other. And you know, whether you go with Bestech or WE, they're both very good. I will say this, I think that the detent on here is excellent. It definitely does the job well. And again, I don't know if that's necessarily because of the knife or its manufacturing or because that this has been handled by a ton of other people before it got here. The design aesthetic is going to be much the same as the other Todd Knife and Tool knives. And if you're like me and wanting to start a Todd Knife and Tool collection, this is one that you just simply have to have. It feels bigger in the hand than it is, and a lot of that has to do with how these handle scales are contoured and that finger choil being a natural resting spot for your index finger. I do like the fact that the blade itself is cleaver straight here on the edge, and it feels nice and sharp. In fact, let's do a quick sharpness test. Again, I haven't touched this. This is my first time checking this out, so just like you, I'm gonna find out. Yeah, no problem whatsoever. Now, I have to assume that this isn't the first time this has cut something, given how many channels have had their hands on it, but it's not having any issue so far. Yeah, nice clean cuts all the way through. So the cutting geometry is pretty decent, and I wouldn't expect anything less. It feels nice and thin here behind the edge, and up close on that blade spine, it's not terribly thick. You do get a little bit of swedge relief here at the top at the end of that jimping. And so, yeah, it's overall pretty decent. The WE Roxi models are in stock right now, and I'll go ahead and leave a few links down below in case you're interested in checking them out. So far, I've seen them on White Mountain Knives, Knife Center, and I believe Blade HQ. So pick your favorite retailer if you're planning on picking one of these up. And if you're a fan of Todd Knife and Tool, it's safe to say that you'll be a fan of the WE Roxi 3. I would prefer the larger version, which is the Roxi 4, but that one is not available at the moment. I wouldn't be dissatisfied with this one either. However, when I am done with it, I will, of course, have to send it back to the Apex Pass Around group. Guys, that's all I got for you today. I know I kept this one nice and short, but I wanted to get to the things that were important. Hit me up in the comment section down below. Let me know, are you planning on picking up one of these? If not, why not? Let me know down below. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, boo-hoo, there's a button for you too. And if you want to see more content just like it, and you're interested in me ranking this knife, which will happen in the next week or so, make sure you hit subscribe. I'm Rollshambo. I'll catch you on the flip side.